Good day, everybody. My name is Charles Rather, I'm Law Group Managing Partner. Today, I wanted to talk about the requirements for the NIW visa or green card category. NIW stands for non-immigrant. It stands for National Interest Waiver. And people often say, what is a waiver and what does it have to do with anything? The reason it's called the NIW, National Interest Waiver, is this is technically a subcategory of the EB2 category. Many of you know EB2, that's a green card through employment, where you have to get a job offer, pay the salary stipulated by the Department of Labor, et cetera, et cetera. So the NIW is really kind of a subcategory of this, but it's an exception. It's a carve out that says, hey, if this applicant is so well qualified and in such demand in America, we're going to waive the labor perm requirements. So you don't have to go through that process of posting the job, vacancy notice in various outlets and at the job site, etc., and confirming there's no qualified Americans that could fill the position. So it's a waiver from those requirements, and that's where the waiver part comes in. National interest, that's probably self-explanatory. We've got to show that you are such a valuable professional to the U.S. that you will promote the national interests of the United States upon your arrival, and therefore it's worth waiving all these other requirements in order for you to get a green card, generally in a much faster, expedited manner than you would otherwise. So what are the requirements exactly for an NIW? You should look at one of our other videos on the channel where we talk about the popularity of the NIW, because it's become increasingly popular over the last few years since the end of COVID. I'm not sure what exactly that's related to. I suspect in part it's related to the fact that there are a lot of difficulties in securing a green card through other avenues and other categories, and more people are considering the NIW route. I know in particular we deal with a lot of clients, for example, from Russia, and in light of the conflict going on over there, right now you have a lot of people interested in getting out of there. They might not have money, to finance an EB5 investment or other categories, but they might be skilled, experienced professionals, and they're looking at the NIW as an option. So I think at least in that part of the world, that in part is driving the increased popularity in NIW. But anyway, what are the requirements of the NIW and who can realistically apply? First of all, there's the regulatory requirements, which are basically education related. Either you have a master's degree or you have a bachelor's degree with 5 years of progressive experience. Vast majority of our clients have a master's degree, and we usually go that route. For those who don't and they have a bachelor's degree, then we've got to analyze that they have 5 years of progressive experience, and in addition, we have to show that they have exceptional abilities. So you don't necessarily have to show the exceptional abilities if you have the master's agreement, but if you only, the master's degree. But if you only have a bachelor's and 5 years of experience, then we've got to show exceptional abilities. Those are shown by a separate list of either 5 or 6 criteria, and you have to satisfy 3 of them. And to be honest, they're not really that stringent of criteria. So generally, most of our clients, if they've got the bachelor's and 5 years of progressive experience, they can also meet the exceptional abilities criteria, which in fact is not that difficult. So let's say you meet those base requirements. Then what after that? Then what comes next? Well, the next thing is we've got to show that your endeavors, your plans in America have substantial merit, and they are in the national interest of the United States. So what exactly does that mean? It's a bit of a gray area, and that's why the NIW in part is popular and why in part it's more difficult, because this is where good lawyering comes into play. You've got to create a good story around your client, and it's ultimately up to the officer whether they buy into that story or not. So, if you're dealing with a Nobel Prize winning scientist, et cetera, not even a Nobel Prize winner, but, an accomplished scientist or researcher or IT specialist, it's maybe not that difficult. The challenges come when you're dealing with people that are, perfectly good professionals, experts in their area, but it's not immediately evident what's the substantial merit of their endeavors and how is it in the interests of the United States. And that's where experienced and creative attorneys play an important role in explaining that to the adjudicator. It's a little difficult to give broad examples of what constitutes substantial merit and national interest. As you can understand, it's not just having a successful business. Hey, I want to come to the United States and build this great business, and on the basis of that, I'd like to get the NIW. In certain circumstances, that could be grounds for an NIW, and we certainly have had quite a few that have gone that route. But I would say there's two main ways that you can prove a case for the NIW. Easiest way is getting a U.S. company to indicate that they're interested in hiring you or working with you in some capacity because you have certain skills, knowledge, background, know-how that are in demand in the U.S. and are in shortage, and this is something that would materially benefit the U.S. company in its growth and further development. Now, if it's just for this particular company, it's a widget manufacturer and you know how to make widgets and you can make widgets faster than anybody else, well, that might have substantial merits for this company, but we have to show that has substantial merits for the country in general. So this is where it really kind of depends on a case-by-case basis. If you're just a widget manufacturer, and people buy lots of widgets, there's nothing wrong with that. But if the point is the company wants you to come here to work just to increase their productivity, that might be a tough situation, a tough sell to make to the Immigration Service. But if we can say, hey, this work that he's doing is important for our company, but it's also important for this sector in general for the United States or for the national interest writ large, then we have a much better case. For example, that could be, we've had recent clients, I'm trying to think, were finance experts, right? They had extensive experience in raising capital for startup types of ventures, and this guy was going to go work for a venture fund that was involved with a lot of startup investments, including in some high-tech emerging technologies, AI work, artificial intelligence, stuff like that, where that's really on the cutting edge. And so his role is important in that he's able to work successfully in attracting capital for these projects. These projects that are American-based are then going to be able to launch, develop new technologies that are of value for the U.S. in general, to maintain U.S. leadership in these sectors. And based on that, that could be a good argument to make for an NIW. The other option is, which is common with many of our clients, they don't have any partners, potential employers, people they can work with or get a letter of employment from in the U.S. And so the route we take in that case is we say our client is going to open his or her own business, and through their business, they're going to apply themselves, advance their endeavors in the U.S. And here it could be kind of the same situation. It's just instead of working for one company, you're going to open your own company, and through your company, develop your talent, extend it further. And we have to basically go through that same analysis of showing, okay, why is this work going to be of importance to the U.S. economy, etc. So those are the two main prongs, or two main approaches that we can take in preparing a case for NIW. NIW is a very challenging category, but as I mentioned, very popular. And I think it's very important to work with a skilled, experienced attorney because there's so much wiggle room in terms of how USCIS looks at these petitions that it's really important to put together a good petition. And the best way to do that is to work with somebody who's done this a lot of times, knows what USCIS likes, what they don't like, and how to best prepare the best arguments for your client. If you have any questions about this, please leave your comments below. Leave a like if this was helpful for you. Subscribe to our channel, or even better yet, sign up for a consultation so we can speak with you more directly about your particular plans and your options.